Hi, Jerry Richards here again, and today we're going to make the wallet from the Stella bag and wallet pattern. So here's the wallet, and it has a change purse on the bottom, zipper change purse, and the little pockets to put your cards in, and a long pocket for the money, as well as the snap to hold it together. So this is everything that I've used to do the wallet. A snap, I used a zipper foot for the sewing machine, a turner, a seam ripper, a chalk line. I do like this one because it's nice and fine. And of course scissors, thread, and pins. So first you're going to look at your pattern and look under cutting, which is on the first page, and cut everything for the wallet. So you're going to have your pocket pieces, which you're going to fold in half, right sides together. However, this fabric that I'm using, I usually use for lining batik because it's nice and fine. So it doesn't really have a right or wrong side. So that makes it kind of easy. So I sew 1/4 of an inch down all the pockets. One of them's larger than the other. That's one going to go on the bottom. And then you are going to turn your pocket to the right side. You can use a pencil eraser to push that through. And then iron that flat. I like to iron it so that the seam is on the top. Then what you're going to do is take your bottom piece, and following the instructions in the pattern, you're going to mark 1/4 of an inch. I use a chalk pencil to mark 1/4 of an inch. Lay your first one on top of that and sew it 1/4 of an inch, and continue doing that, following the instructions until you get to the bottom one. These ones are all sewn on. The bottom one, you line up to the very bottom of your lining piece. You can pin that in place if you'd like. And then with your 1/4 of an inch, you are going to stitch that all the way along the bottom. Then what you can do is you can trim off the excess on either side, and then you're going to measure over 4 1/4 inches from the edge and draw a line there. Okay, so I've drawn the line down the center, which is 4 1/4 inches. I'm going to start at the bottom, stitch up on that line, turn it around and stitch back and fix it down at the bottom. You'll want your needle in the center for that. Okay, now we're going to put that aside, and we're going to do the zippered pocket. Okay, now we're going to do the zipper for the zippered pocket. Instead of following the directions for the zipper, you should do it this way. Cut your end pieces 4 inches, fold it in half, and then fold it again. It will be 1 inch when it's totally folded. You'll open it up, at 1/2 of an inch, draw a line with chalk or invisible pencil. Then you're going to cut your zipper to 7 1/2 inches. Pin the zipper onto that first line at 1/2 of an inch, and then you can sew that zipper on to secure it. I'm showing you with the darker thread just so that you can see. So it's sewn on. I wouldn't use that thread in real life if I were going to. I'm going to take the pin out, and then I'm going to just stitch close to the edge making sure the edges are even on the tab. And you can go back a second time. I like to do that. There we go. And then you're going to trim the zipper, the tab, the same width as the zipper. So then you're going to sew the zipper to the bottom part of the zippered pocket, which you fold it in half, again, right sides together, and stitched on the zipper. And the top part, which is also the sizes are in the pattern, you folded it in half with wrong sides together, the same as that. It's better to sew the bottom part on first and then the top one, making sure that when you sew it onto the pocket zipper, that you use the raw edge. The folded edge is going to be what you sew onto the wallet. So then with your zipper foot, I'll put a zipper foot on. You're going to sew the zipper onto the edge of that. To do next is press that nice and flat and top stitch it like the other side is top stitched. Then you're going to take that piece and pin it to the bottom. This is the lining piece. I have already trimmed the top, and what I have used is, there's a template in the pattern, and I've used freezer paper to cut out the template so that I could iron that on and then pull it off and reuse it over and over again. If you don't have any freezer paper, you can just simply use any rounded object, a cup or anything, to cut that. And I've also already cut the wallet itself. And the other thing I've done is I've drawn the line. And this is the line that the other piece that we did is going to go on. So that's 8 inches up from the bottom. So I drew that line before I added the pocket. You can see that I have the pocket pinned. So what I'm going to do is stitch all the way around that, the whole thing. And I'm going to change my foot again. Put the regular foot back on. If you hear jumping, it's dancing upstairs. So you're going to stitch all the way around. Take the pins out. Don't run over your pins. You can break a needle. Stay close to your edge. I like to stay about 1/8 of an inch from the edge. If you have a machine where you can set your needle so that it stops in the down position, it's much easier to do that. And if you don't have a sewing machine that stops with the needle down, you should always turn your wheel toward you so that the needle is on its way down. And then when you start sewing again, your thread won't get pulled out. Just an easy way to do it. So there, we've sewed all the way around. So that is done. And then you're going to take your pocket piece, and the top of the pocket piece is going to go against the line that you drew at 8 inches, and you can pin that on. I like to just sort of pin it in a spot where I'm not going to sew over it, but just to hold it there. And then what you're going to do is stitch that again using about 1/8 of an inch, which is just the kind of the edge of your foot, and sew that along the bottom and along the sides. So then you're going to have a finished top. Now you're going to put your snap in, and what I have done is I've measured over 1 1/8 inch from the top and 4 1/4 of an inch from the side. That's the center, and I've made a little mark on the front and the back. The reason I made one on the back is I will put some stabilizer in there. Usually I put 2 pieces of a fusible interfacing on there to just hold the snap down, because you don't put anything in there, it can come out easily. So do that, and then you can put your snap on. Okay, so this is what the snap looks like after you've put it on. I'll show you the snap on the other end. So that's on the top, and I've stitched all the way around. On this particular one, I didn't round the edges. I kind of like them square, but it's up to you which way you do it. You can see that I have 2 layers of an interfacing underneath the snap. That's just to secure it a little bit more. The other thing that I like to do is do another stitch close to the first one, just on the section where the pockets are, because that's quite thick there, and then cut that close. But the rest of it, what I do is I just do snips on an angle all the way around and trim off the corners. And I've left an opening in the bottom, and that's how I'm going to turn it. So we're going to do that right now. Takes a minute to get it out. Not too long. And I have a turner, bone turner. I'm not sure why it's called a bone turner, but I think originally they were made from bone, but this one's made out of wood. And I can take that, if you don't have one, you can use a dull pencil, and just poke out your corners as much as you can. They're probably not going to be really sharp, but as much as you can without poking through. If you have done the rounded corners, you won't have to do the top so much. But this one is going to have just a straight. So, there. There is your wallet. And prior to putting it together, I didn't show you, but I quilted the top, which is on the foam. So what I always do is quilt on either side of the strip. This little strip really didn't need anything, it's very small, but then I pick some things in the design and go around them. And so they're all quilted. So this one has been quilted as well. Then what I'll do is I'll put the snap in next, and I would turn it up. It turns up nicely. You would press it first. Press it really good, And then this section in between is where you're going to pull it up and then pull this one down. Actually, before we pull it down, what I'm going to do is I'm going to top stitch, but I'm only going to top stitch the top part of it just to here because it's much easier to do. And this holds the lining down. So I'm going to do that right now. And you can make a little mark with your chalk to show you where to begin and where to end. And you can back stitch a couple of stitches just to secure it. And then top stitch around, making sure the lining is pushed under. This just holds the lining in place a little bit better. It looks better when it's finished. It's too thick to really top stitch the whole thing. I just like to do just the top part. If you have a fix, you can fix it. Okay, so there's that. That didn't cut very well. Now when you pull this up and pull the top down, it will look better. It's the lining isn't pulling. So just line up your strip. And then what I do is I pick it up and I look to see where my snap is. And I mark right in the center of where that snap is. And now we're going to put the snap in. We don't need the stabilizer on this side because of course you have the foam. It's going on the foam side. So here's the other half of the snap. And on the snaps, one side's a little thicker than the other. The thicker part goes on the top, the thinner part goes on the bottom. So I've made my little mark. There it is right there. And then I'm going to take this round piece and put it right over the mark like that. And then I'll take my chalk and make a little line on both sides in these holes. Then I'm going to take my seam ripper and I'm going to cut through the foam and make a little mark. And then take the seam, the snap, and push it into those holes. And then on this side, you take this little washer and feed it through, and then pull it down. And that's how you put a snap in. Then you just take and pull the fabric in. You can press it down and pin it. And hand stitch that. And your wallet is finished. And that's it for the wallet.